Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this section was going to be on major Indian English novelists because as the exam time was nearing, so many students have been getting confused like what to read in Indian literature. So for this, in this video, we are going to explore the voices that have significantly shaped our Indian English literature. So from pioneers like Raja Rao to contemporary voices like Jhumpa Lahiri, this journey will give you a very broad perspective on how Indian experience have been portrayed in English language so that it will give you a overall context of what Indian literature is and what writers to focus on. So let's begin and start our section on major Indian English novelists or writers. Indian writings in English, or IWE as we say, began during the colonial period. And this unique form of literature combines Indian themes, experiences, and philosophies with the English language and Western literary forms. Also, it reflects the evolution of Indian identity through the phases of colonialism, independence, and globalization. So the works that we are going to discuss or the works that falls under the Indian English literature often explores about some deep social, political and cultural shifts that has happened in our Indian society. So this is the overall context of Indian writing in English or Indian literature. Now let's talk about the early pioneers of Indian English literature. So let's begin with early pioneers who laid the foundation of our Indian English literary fiction. Okay, so first the name that comes to our mind is Raja Rao, and it's a must read for every student who are preparing for any English literature exams. So Raja Rao, you must read his every novel. You should know about every detail about Raja Rao and his every novel's details. Okay, so Raja Rao, I'm just giving you a context of his novel and what his novel is based on, what his all novels and works are based on. So if I particularly talk about Kanthapura, his novel, which narrates about the impact of Gandhian philosophy on a very small village using a storytelling style that mimics about Indian oral tradition. But you should read about every works of Raja Rao. Majorly, you should definitely know about Kanthapura, all the details of Kanthapura altogether. Okay. Now, the next is Mulk Raj Anand, and this is also a must read for every student. So, Mulk Raj Anand's Untouchable is a very famous novel and which was published in 1935. You should remember about all the dates, all the years of publication also. So, Untouchable is a powerful depiction of caste oppression. His works mostly reflect about social realism and a deep concern for the unprivileged persons. Next is R.K. Narayan, and you must have heard about R.K. Narayan and all his stories like Swami Our Friends, Malgudi Days. These are some of the famous English patient. These are some of the famous novels or works of R.K. Narayan that you should definitely read. So R.K. Narayan was known for his fictional town of Malgudi that we all have heard about in our childhood. So Malgudi, it was portrayed Indian middle class life with gentle humor and simple narrative style. His characters are and stories mainly remain timeless. That's why he is so famous. So Raja Rao, Mulk Raj Anand, R.K. Narayan, these three writers, these are considered as the early pioneers of Indian English literature, and you must read them. Now we should know about some post-independence voices, the works that are most famous. So with independence came a shift in themes and perspectives in our English literature. So if you read works before independence, you will notice some difference after you read the works of post-independence. Like there is a visible difference between the works that was written before independence and after independence. So With independence came a shift in themes and perspectives. The first writer you should definitely read is Kamala Markanday, and her famous work Nectar in a Sieve, which examines about rural life, poverty, and the class of Eastern and Western culture. Next is Anita Desai. She was known for her lyrical language and psychological depth, which explores about the themes of identity, loneliness, and feminine consciousness, particularly in Cry the Peacock and Clear Light of the Day. But you must read about every work of Anita Desai. She is an important writer as well as Kamala Markanday. Now comes about the global recognition phase. So the global spotlight turned towards the Indian writers in 1980s and beyond. So the first name that comes into our mind whenever we talk about the global recognition phase, it's Salman Rushdie. So Salman Rushdie's novels like Midnight Children, Grimace, Same, these are some of the famous works of Salman Rushdie that often get asked to us in exams. So we should definitely read and know about every tiny details of Salman Rushdie and his works. So if I particularly talk about Midnight Children, which was published in 1981, brought international fame with its blend of magic realism and post-colonial history. So the novel explores about India's journey from colonial rule to independence through the eyes of its protagonist. Okay, next is Arundhati Roy, who was my personal favorite and still see it so famous, and her works are you should definitely read even if you are not an English literature student. Okay, and if you are English literature student, then please refer Arundhati Roy's works to others to read, because her works I feel they are like magic. Okay, so Arundhati Roy won the Booker Prize for The God of Small Things, which examines about caste, love, and childhood trauma with some poetic brilliance. So you should read about Arundhati Roy and her every novel. Okay, next is Amitav Ghosh. So Amitav Ghosh novels like The Shadow Lines, the Ibis trilogy, The Glass Palace, they are known for the rich historical narratives with some transactional scope. So you should definitely read about these writers. Now let's talk about the contemporary novelist. Okay, so in the contemporary landscape we see that even greater diversity has been adapted in themes and global reach. So the first writer that comes to our mind is Kiran Desai, and her most famous work, The Inheritance of Loss, which focuses on imagination, migration, identity, and the emotional cost of globalization. Next is Jhumpa Lahiri. Although born in USA, she captures the Indian diasporic experience with sensitivity, especially in The Namesake and The Interpreter of Maladies. So you should definitely read about Kiran Desai's every work and Jhumpa Lahiri's every work. Now there is Chetan Bhagat, which was who writes in most simple English words, and every one who loves to read books must have definitely read about Chetan Bhagat. So though not so many questions have been asked from Chetan Bhagat, but still you should definitely read about the works of Chetan Bhagat, because from the last 2-3 years I think I am seeing some questions that is based on Chetan Bhagat novels. Okay, so Chetan Bhagat often considered the face of Indian popular fiction, which appeals to the younger readers with his fast-paced narratives, which focuses on modern relationship, education, and social commentary. So if you have time, then you should definitely read about Chetan Bhagat, Jhumpa Lahiri, and Kiran Desai. So the most common thing that you'll notice if you read about any Indian English writer, you'll notice about a recurring theme in this Indian literature. So across these authors and eras, several themes have reoccurred. Okay, so these include about the caste and class conflicts, the legacy of colonialism, and the trauma of partition, gender roles, the diasporic identity, and the struggle between tradition and modernity. So these themes themes make the Indian English fiction a rich field of study by reflecting both personal and collective narratives. And these novelists, they all matters. Why? Because these novelists are more than just storytellers. They capture about India's social cultural evolution, give voice to the marginalized, and bring Indian realities to the global literary map. So through their works, they bridge the gap between the local experience and universal concerns by making Indian English literature a significant part of our world literature. Now, I have some suggestion for you to read, like to explore this field further. Here are some must-read novels like Kanthapura by Raja Rao, Untouchable by Mulk Raj Anand, Malgudi Days, and all the novels that is based on Malgudi, based in Malgudi by R.K. Narayan, The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy, Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, Inheritance Lost by Kiran Desai. Also, some of the other writers like Jhumpa Lahiri, Vikram Seth, Amitav Ghosh, Mulk Raj Anand. By exploring these authors and their works, you'll gain a very deeper understanding of the diverse literary landscape of our Indian English literature. So, each of these novels they are going to offer you a very unique lens into the Indian life, identity, and history. So you must read about these Indian writers at least before you go for any English literature exam. So with this, I'm ending our video on major Indian English novelists. Thank you all for watching this video. And if you all found this video helpful, please then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Also comment your favorite Indian writers that every student must read. I'm going to see you all in the next video. Till then, be safe and keep loving literature.